It's that time of the year again to be taking a look at another Doctor Who Big Finish vinyl record release. As today we'll be taking a look at the latest one of the series, which is of course the 4th Doctor adventure, The Wave of Destruction, as written by Justin Richards, featuring Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor, Layla Ward as Romana 2, alongside K9 as portrayed by John Leeson. So this vinyl record is another limited edition release and it is only available exclusively via select Sainsburys stores throughout the UK. The merchandise guide website has very handily put up a list of every single store in the UK that will be stocking this, so check that out. I will leave it in the description below in order to try and track down your local store that will be selling this product. The recommended retail is £16, so a little bit cheaper than the other ones exclusive to say HMV, which is quite nice, and it is lovely to have another classic series adventure to add to the collection as opposed to another 10th Doctor adventure. As much as I like them, it is nice to just have more classic series stories within this format. Due to me not listening to The Wave of Destruction before, unlike the previous review of the Creeping Death vinyl, this video is in fact going to be a 2-in-1 review, starting off with The Wave of Destruction vinyl in a product review format, and then in the second half I will be reviewing the actual story itself, much like a normal Big Finish regular review that I do on this channel. Cancelled by this release on the Big Finish website in the CD format for £10.99 and the download is only £8.99. There is also additional information on the Big Finish website as per usual, as well as the trailer. This story was in fact originally released as a part of the regular 4th Doctor Adventures range in January 2016. But taking a closer look at the Wave of Destruction LP vinyl release, of course this 4th Doctor adventure came out a number of years ago when Big Finish still used their infamous sidebar. Of course, in recent years, that has now been updated to feature the most recent 13th Doctor logo, and therefore the actual cover art itself has also needed to be changed in order to correspond with that of a LP sleeve to make it look a little bit nicer and effective. So at the very top, do get the 13th Doctor logo, the BBC logo, a full cast audio drama starring Tom Baker, Layla Ward and John Leeson, and then of course along the bottom we get the text of the story being The Wave of Destruction by Justin Richards, with of course the Big Finish logo at the bottom as well. As for the actual cover art, it is a very similar concept to the original CD, however it has been a little bit more centralised this time round. So we have the 4th Doctor in his City of Death style outfit, of course, towards the side here, Romana in her Destiny of the Daleks outfit, and then one of the characters from the story at the very top. Along the bottom we do get a rather nice coastal line, as you can see, with of course the boat from the episode in the very middle, literally the wave coming out from the actual boat itself in a rather nice radar almost design with some seagulls around there as well. So overall it does look really cool, and I like how they've adapted it to in fact be that of an LP sleeve as opposed to just a regular CD design. Flipping the vinyl record around to the back, once again a very similar design to usual with a very similar layout. So we get a black version of the 13th Doctor logo there, along with the Wave of Destruction, a full cast audio drama, a information write-up about the actual story itself, which is no doubt also the description from the Big Finish website, some of the casting details directed by Nicholas Briggs, along with a little bit of information about Big Finish on the side, as well as their social media. Interestingly, and what is a little bit of a shame as well, they've now got rid of the little rectangle that did used to have the handwritten number on of how limited this product was. Naturally, I like my limited edition products to actually have a unique identification number written on them just to kind of prove it is limited edition, and sadly that has now been removed entirely, which is a little bit of a shame. Now sliding out the vinyl on the inside of the case, of course as per usual, this is in your normal format with a protective sleeve to protect the record itself. In the very middle of this we do get the production credits for the actual story itself, including the CD episode at the very top, as well as some details about the actual vinyl at the bottom, such as the cover illustration has been created by Anthony Lamb, and the booklet design that we're taking a look at right now has in fact been created by Mark Plasto, with a few other additional talented people also listed on there as well. Flipping the sleeve around to the back, something which is a little bit different to usual. In fact, we have an advertisement to the other 4th Doctor adventures. Now, in fact, very recently this year, I have of course reviewed the 4th Doctor Season 8 adventures, the Syndicate Master Plan, with of course Anne Kelso as portrayed by Jane Slavin, the past 2 most recent seasons of the 4th Doctor adventures, available on box set via the Big Finish website. And now, of course, we have the most exciting bit to take a look at the vinyl record itself. This time round, they call this a Ocean Swirl vinyl. So as you can see, if I just tilt it towards the light a little bit there, it is not just a solid blue. We do in fact have quite a lot of clear, as you can see, around the edges, and a very nice, well, swirl design as well, using different shades of blue, looking very nice and unique to reflect the fact that this story is set at sea. So another lovely colour variation to add to the collection to go with the other Demon Music Group releases. So yeah, that is very nice. I highly recommend tracking it down simply for this pretty record colour alone. So overall, for this vinyl record release, once again, Demon Music Group have done a really lovely job on actually presenting the cover art as well as the actual vinyl itself, especially considering that this is needed to be updated from the original CD version. Of course, it is also nice to see another classic series adventure as a part of the range. And I would love Big Finish and Demon Music Group to in fact expand to maybe do some of the other classic series Doctor adventures as well. Maybe some of the 6th Doctor, just as a suggestion. Please, Demon Music Group, I need some 6th Doctor vinyls in my life. But yeah, other than that, a really lovely product. If you've collected all of the others, you know what to expect, really. And of course, it would still be nice, I've mentioned this in all of the Demon Music Group reviews so far, for the Big Finish line at least, it would be lovely to have a download code available via the Big Finish website. You can download a digital version of this actual story, because you spend £16 on it, very much like how you would order from the website itself. If you get a physical product, you normally get the digital download free of charge anyway. It'd be nice if Demon Music Group and Big Finish could maybe work together in order to make that a reality. I'm not expecting it on the next one because that product was in fact produced a number of months ago now, and of course it was being delayed due to the issues that HMV are currently under. However, that is of course due out in September, so maybe after that, it would be nice to see that digital download incorporated on the next ones in the series. So now moving on to the Wave of Destruction as an actual story. Of course, a 4th Doctor adventure from one of his early seasons. I want to say Series 5 of his adventures, of course taking place around Season 17, where he is travelling with Romana 2, as well as K9. So around the events of, say, Destiny of the Daleks, the City of Death. So generally a season that is in fact rather loud in its approach. There is a lot of interesting concepts in this series. Of course, Doctor Who going on location to Paris, the return of Davros, and of course the relationship between the Doctor and his companion is much different to that of the previous companions, such as, say, Leela and the 4th Doctor, that is much more like a teacher and a student going out into the universe and doing different things. This time round we have two very intelligent Time Lords together, therefore the approach to stories are very different, and I think that this episode does certainly capture that. I think the chemistry between Romana, or at least the chemistry between Layla Ward and Tom Baker in this story, is actually very, very good. It's something of which I don't comment on much, given the very high tensions that are within Season 17 and Season 18, of course behind the scenes of the production of Doctor Who, known in Doctor Who history to be quite a difficult time within the show. And of course Big Finish, they can avoid that by having them literally recording on different days. Therefore in this story we do see a different version of the 4th Doctor and Romana. It's a nice relationship, they respect each other, it's a lot of fun, and there's quite a lot of quirky jokes added in there as well by Justin Richards, making this story very much have the feel of an upbeat Doctor Who adventure, in a rather similar writing style to that of James Goss, or even, say, other science fiction writers like Douglas Adams that have a particular quirk to their writing that is rather nicely also referred to almost within this story, I feel. 4th Doctor and Romana land in the 1960s, where there is some particular unusual occurrences going on within pirate radio systems, and basically we see the 4th Doctor and Romana travelling around the 1960s trying to figure out what is going on after K9's circuits get disrupted in the early half of the story. So we open up with a really lovely scene including a crossword and kind of laid back moment with the 4th Doctor and Romana that we don't particularly see too much of. It's normally very action packed and fast paced, so it's nice to start the story off with something that is a little bit more chilled out to usual. Then we see Romana going off and basically having some adventures around some 1960s shops, including some rather stereotypical plastic handbag shops that the 1960s produced, as well as the hype behind new TVs and even broadcast radio stations, because of course at this time not every household would have a TV. Radio stations would still be a very popular format in order to get media coverage, and and we see that utilised throughout this story, where you have the concept of pirate radio stations that are going on underneath the different wavelengths of radio, and basically they are unlicensed and they can broadcast obscure music that they so wish to. And we see this story incorporating the concept of aliens into that idea, and we see how aliens could in fact use the idea of pirate radio stations to their advantage in order to take over and enslave humanity. Which is where we come on to the actual alien of the piece. Now this is in fact uncredited on the Big Finish website, however I'm going to talk about it anyway because I kind of feel like if you wanted to listen to this story without spoilers then you probably would have listened to it by now, especially given its release was way back in 2016. Therefore, if you are wanting to listen to this story without major spoilers, then I will add a little caption on screen saying mute or something like that, and when that caption is gone I will not be talking about the monster or villain of the piece any further in order to avoid spoilers. The actual monster or villain of the piece is in fact the Vardens, as seen within the Fourth Doctor story, The Invasion of Time, a character that I must admit I needed to Google in order to find out what Doctor Who story they actually appeared in, because I didn't particularly find them that memorable within The Invasion of Time, to say the least. I always think of it as a Gallifreyan and Sontaran story, and that is basically it. And we see their characters in this episode utilising the radio waves, which is rather clever. However, they are portrayed in a manner that is rather over the top in this piece, I think. They are very loud and they underestimate both the intelligence of the Doctor and Romana, but also underestimate the actual human species as well. They think that by killing a few of their people, they will basically get down on their knees and be slaves to the Vardens. However, that is of course not the case. Humans are rather rebellious and generally they're a little bit stubborn as well, and you see them not necessarily taken by force, and they are a little bit more difficult and challenging in order to enslave, which is a rather nice touch that Justin adds to the script. And I think that the Varden contribution to this story is quite nice. They are written in an unusual way, but something that I would often relate to new series Doctor Who as well. Their personality is certainly very strong and very much like a new series monster. Of course, talking about the rest of the cast as well, as you can see the cast for this story is very small, much like the majority of the Fourth Doctor adventures. So we have John Leeson as K9, which, briefly talking about him, because naturally with it being K9 you don't really have too much to say about the character. He's a walking computer, that's basically it. But it is nice to see that they've utilised once again his benefits essentially in this story. He certainly has a use to contribute to both Romana as well as the Doctor and the difficulties that they come across throughout the actual story itself. So I like the fact that Justin Richards has actually utilised him as opposed to using the classic serial TV approach of using him in the first part of the story and then ditching him in the TARDIS for the rest of the duration. So to see that John Leeson is essentially let out for a little bit of a walk and he can do his own thing with K9, which is very nice, a good part of the story. Then we have Barnaby Miller and Eric, played by Phil Mulrine, Mark Lancaster as played by Carl Theobald, Jill as played by Alex Wilton Regan, and Derek Freitas as played by John Banks. And all of the characters in this story, which the villains are also included within that I've just read out, are, as I say, all of them are very loud, all of them have loud personalities, and it's very obvious to determine which character is which, because normally within the Fourth Doctor adventures you get a lot of background cardboard cutout characters who don't really have too much personality. They are just there to drive the narrative and basically create the atmosphere of the location that the Doctor and Romana have found themselves in. But this time round we have MI15 involved, an agent from that, which is pretty cool, and yeah, they have some nice involvements within the actual story itself and certainly drive the episode forward. For that reason, I do in fact recommend this episode to new listeners, simply because of those loud personalities, making the episode really easy to follow. That as well included with the actual narrative. It's nothing too complex, it's nothing too mind-bending, and generally, as I say, it is easy to follow. So if you are an experienced listener to Big Finish, this story isn't necessarily anything groundbreaking, it's just a little bit of fun, it's light-hearted, it's a 1 hour romp, very much like the majority of new series Doctor Who. However, that does make it perfect for those people who wish to delve into audio dramas for the first ever time in a story that's not necessarily anything too complex. After listening to The Wave of Destruction and then also thinking back to one of my previous Big Finish audio drama listens of Live 34, another Doctor Who story that is focused solely around the idea of radio stations and radio broadcasts, and I think that I've concluded I really like stories that directly incorporate radio into Doctor Who, because of course it is very effective, especially within a Big Finish story, and the concept within this episode of the pirate radio station Radio Frantic, with its brilliant and cheesy slogan jingle thing, is just, I love it. It does add a really nice element of character to the narrative itself, as well as a unique identity, and also is one of the key elements of the story to make it generally a little bit more light-hearted. And that is really it for my review of the 4th Doctor Big Finish adventure, The Wave of Destruction. If I was to summarise it within one sentence, it would be a bit of 1 hour fun, light-hearted, and loud characters. That is basically it. That is my way of describing this story. It's fast-paced as per usual, but Tom Baker offers a really lovely performance. As to the actual vinyl, if you have collected the other ones in this series, then naturally I do recommend trying to track down this version, especially for the recommended retail price of £16. I don't recommend paying over and above the amount that it is actually at recommended retail. If there is a few on eBay, which no doubt there will be, I do recommend buying it from there if you have no other option. Say if there's no stores close to you that are selling it, but I do not recommend paying too far over the amount, nothing too extortionate. At the end of the day, it's only a singular vinyl record release, and if you are so keen on actually experiencing this story, it's also available on CD and download. So I only do recommend buying this release if either you like the look of it, if you've collected the other vinyls, or are particular a really big fan of this story. So thank you very much for watching this review of The Wave of Destruction. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this product, please do leave them in the comment section below, and I will of course reply to them at some point in the near future. And do stay tuned for more Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama reviews every single month on The Host Productions. My next review from the Big Finish vinyl record range will in fact be the already announced 10th Doctor Adventures story, Death and the Queen, from the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 1, starring Catherine Tate as Donna Noble, and that will in fact be an exclusive HMV release, which I do believe is currently available to pre-order on the website, plus being able to be purchased from HMV retailers I think in September this year, so coming very very soon in fact. So thanks for watching this review, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.